Only one win in their last 6 in the league for Swansea City, and a performance against Southampton that looked a bit like an FA Cup game between two teams in different divisions. Even though Swansea managed to get a point from that game, a very good result, the performance was not great, and that's been a recent theme. Even so, I must admit I was surprised on final whistle to see online quite a lot of strong criticism of Alan Sheehan. Social media is not always the best barometer of fan feeling, but I was taken aback by the amount of people calling for Sheehan to be sacked, moved on, and for the club to get a better manager, a new manager in to take the team forward. My instinct was that this seemed a little bit unfair and a little bit knee-jerk, but instead of just dismissing it, I'm going to do what I always do. Dig a little bit deeper and try and analyse the situation and ask, why is Alan Sheehan under pressure and is it fair? Let's dig into the last month or two. And instantly you do start to see some negative trends when it comes to Swansea City's performances as well as the results in the league. Let's start defensively, where to start the season, the most obvious thing to praise Swansea for was their defensive organisation, and it was very clear watching the games and even clearer analysing the data. In their first 4 games, Swansea conceded 10 shots or less in all 4 league games, and since then, in the last 6, they've conceded 101 shots in 6 games. That is 16.8 shots per game. Wow. Something's gone wrong there. In their first 4 games, they conceded only 8 shots on target, 2 a game. That's the basis of a really strong defence and likely a pretty strong team overall. But in the last 6 games, 5.5 shots on target per game faced. Lawrence Vigouroux seriously busy. Sitting here now after 10 games, Vigouroux has made the 2nd most saves in the Championship. He has the 5th best save percentage. And if you analyse the amount of goals he has prevented based on the quality of shots that he has faced, he is 3rd for that metric in the league. So were it not for Vigouroux being an above average goalkeeper and a shot stopper this season, Swansea may have conceded even more goals over the last 6 games. But you have to say that first Hull, but also Birmingham and Millwall and Leicester and Southampton, all decent attacking sides, but they've all created plenty against a Swansea side that previously looked really, really good. So what about the other end of the pitch? This is really ugly. Like, way uglier than I probably realised heading into this research. Only 5 teams have scored fewer goals than Swansea in the league this season, but it gets worse when you look at the underlying numbers beneath the goals scored column. Swansea have the 2nd worst non-penalty XG. Only 1 team in Derby has created less than Swansea after 10 games this season in the Championship. They have had the 2nd fewest shots on goal, and they have a fairly low XG per shot. What that suggests is that the shots that they are taking are not particularly high value opportunities compared to the other teams in the league. They have had the fewest touches inside the opposition box in the whole of the Championship this season. But also, Swansea are a team that, they're not playing Russell Martin style possession-based football, but they are still an above-average team when it comes to keeping the ball, looking after the ball, possessing the ball. They have made the 8th most final third passes, but again, let's go back to that stat. The fewest touches in the box from the 8th most final third passes. Something is going very, very wrong around that 20 yards out mark, where Swansea do not convert the possession that they have into dangerous opportunities. But another way that teams can be effective in attack is through high turnovers, through what they do out of possession, disrupting the opposition in dangerous areas and turning that into good chances. But Swansea are 4th lowest in the league for high turnovers, and they haven't had a single high turnover that has led to a goal. On top of that, what is another way that teams create chances and score goals? Set-piece situations. Swans are one of only 2 teams in the Championship without a set-piece goal so far. So even from that point of view, they are not looking as dangerous or as potent as the teams around them. In terms of the style, they are one of the slower attacking teams. If you use the Opta Analysts website, there's a ton of metrics in which to measure the speed of their attacks. They are 3rd in the league for build-up attacks. That is the number of open play attacks that contain 10 passes or more and end in a shot, or at least one touch in the opposition box. Third in the league for that, but the second lowest for direct attacks, which is fairly self-explanatory. If you look at current championship trends, it seems fairly clear that slow attacking teams are not currently the most effective attacking teams. More goals are scored from direct attacks than they are from build-up attacks. So all in all, I'm surprised at just how poor Swansea's attacking numbers are, and I can't be too critical of the fans who I saw say they are pretty bored watching Swansea City right now. Does that mean I think Sheehan should be sacked right now? Absolutely not. The one thing that I strongly disagree with that I saw a lot over the weekend is the use of the words unambitious or cheap in relation to Sheehan's appointment. It's such an easy stick to beat either a manager with or a club with when you appoint someone who's already inside the building. And it gives off this idea that it's always the wrong appointment, because how could it possibly be the right appointment if it isn't coming from external sources? If you aren't paying more money, as if anyone knows how much manager wages are and things of that nature. And also it ignores the fact that regularly internal candidates do a very good job. And it's not a great surprise that decision makers within clubs sometimes feel that someone within the building who they know already, they know the character, they know the personality, they have some idea, or more idea than they probably do for external candidates, what they are going to be like in the working environment, in difficult situations. I really strongly disagree with retrofitting words like unambitious or cheap onto the appointment of Alan Sheehan. And I also think, even more strongly, that there is no point appointing a rookie manager, giving them their first full-time senior job, if you are unwilling to give them the opportunity to ride through a tough spell. It is hurtful for the club long-term if you continuously sack managers when they have their first sticky period. There's so much work that needs to go into Swansea's attacking style to make them a better attacking team, but I'm not sure I necessarily agree with this idea that because Swansea had a fairly lively transfer window where they spent a bit more on players, that means they should have matched that with hiring a quote-unquote more ambitious manager, a bigger name, someone with more experience. I think that's quite a vague concept anyway, because when Sheehan got the job, the main manager that was linked apart from him was Kim Hellberg, the Swedish manager. Would that have been considered far more ambitious at the time? Maybe. I mean, Hellberg's not a massive name, he's an exciting name, and that is often the case with foreign managers. But it's definitely not always the case that they come over and are able to take what they've done in Scandinavia and implement it into the Championship. Johannes Hoff-Torp at Norwich is a good example of that. Would Hellberg be doing better than Sheehan is right now? Possibly, but you cannot say that for sure. I really don't see the point in Swansea making a change now. I think that would be perpetuating a damaging cycle of short-termism, which actually makes the club less likely to succeed in the mid to long term, rather than more likely. But as someone who likes to analyse the performance level of clubs, and getting to the 10-game mark, this now being a decent sample size to see how clubs are getting on, I can't pretend I'm not seeing some red flags in Swansea's recent performances, both in terms of their drop-off defensively and in terms of how poor they are in an attacking sense. It is a big week for Alan Sheehan and Swansea City. It's a big few weeks, you'd think, for Alan Sheehan. And I'd love to know what Swans fans think in the comments, because I know that the reaction to a draw at Southampton online isn't necessarily representative of how the fan base feels. So please let us know in the comments below, where do you stand right now on Swansea's start to the season, on Alan Sheehan as Swansea City head coach, and the targets for the rest of the season. Please subscribe to the channel for all future videos on Swansea, Cardiff City, Wrexham, Newport County, and so much more across Welsh sport. And head to dragonsports.co.uk for all the best Welsh sports news with no ads.